Ever have the kind of day on the golf course that makes you question your life choices? I'm washed up. Maybe I should switch to pickleball. Was having kids really worth this kind of damage to my golf game? Should I stop using my ex-girlfriend's Netflix password? Maybe I'm not cool enough to pull off the crop top. Nonsense. Let's talk real solutions for those no good, terrible, very bad days. So the first solution is by far the best and very obvious. Get new clubs. I mean, you've clearly outgrown your current set, which is why you played so badly. So it's kind of a no-brainer. But let's say for some crazy reason like budget or your marriage, you can't buy another set of clubs so quickly after the last one. Then you could always do what elite golfers do, and that is understand and then dominate the concept of A, B, and C days. Hey, what's up? I'm Manu. Welcome to the channel. If it's your first time here, welcome. This is where we talk about how to get better at golf faster using the smarts that we've got. And today especially, we'll talk about how to not switch to pickleball and give up our dreams. So let's get right into today's topic. So first, we'll talk about what A, B, and C days are. And then we'll move on to why they happen. And that's really important to understand because then we get to part 3, which is where we unleash some genius ideas on how to not have so many C days, which you can probably figure out not the best days, and have more of those A days. So the A, B, C day system is effectively a way to break down the days we have on the golf course into 3 parts. And this happens for everybody. This isn't limited to the best players or the worst players, anyone in between. There's the really good days, there's the medium days, and then there's the, well, I really shouldn't have come to the golf course today days. I've heard about this concept also when it comes to Olympians talking about, you know, you've got your thirds, so great days, medium days, and not so good days. And in golf, we look at them as A, B, and C days. So A days are amazing, wonderful, fantastic, incredible days, right? Everything just seems to work. Your focus is sharp, you're confident, your swing feels effortless, like you don't even have to look at the ball, and it still goes amazing places like that one just did. You saw it, it happened. Those days are fantastic. They don't always happen, but when they happen, you usually shoot your lowest scores. I had half an A day last Sunday. I had 6 birdies in 10 holes. Felt like I couldn't miss. Made a 30-foot putt for birdie on the first hole, made a 25-foot putt for birdie on the second. Like, couldn't miss. Don't know how, totally had no idea, but it just worked. Trying to hit a 62-yard shot, hit a 62-yard shot. Really strange, but they work out. So A days are the best days. They're the ones we talk about to our buddies for sometimes years afterwards, right? They're the ones that really kind of reignite that passion for golf. Then we have B days, and B days are fine. They're just normal, regular kind of meh days, right? They're kind of your average day on the golf course. Nothing feels super easy, but it's not also super hard. You can kind of make it around, you know, you're probably not making like a bunch of 30, 40-foot putts, but you're probably, you know, you're hitting the shot and it's going kind of in the direction you want to go and it works out okay. Those are B days and, you know, they're normal. They're average. We're okay after that round. We kind of wish we could have done a little bit better, but you know, we're not questioning all the major things we questioned at the beginning. And then there are C days. And C days, I mean, the C stands for suck, because they absolutely suck. Like nothing seems to go right. No matter what you try, no matter what you're doing, you're focusing, you're trying to be confident, all this other stuff is just not working. I had one of these recently where, I kid you not, I hit the ground a foot behind the ball on the tee box and trickled the ball into the ravine. It was a brand new ball too, so that was kind of adding insult to injury to that one. And they happen, right? It's gonna happen to everybody. You're probably watching this video because you searched for this after you were like, what do I do with my life? I had the worst day of golf ever. I'm a 3 handicap and I shot 98. And the thing that's really hard is you can't really do very much about it when you're on the course, or it doesn't feel like you can do very much about it. It's one thing compounding after the other, right? You're trying to bring it back, it just doesn't work. All your drives are going left, right, center. It really sucks. And if that happened to you today, I'm sorry, but you're in the right place. And before we jump into the next section, just a quick request here. I'm a small channel and I'd love to grow this. So if you wouldn't mind letting me know with the buttons what you think and ideally subscribe, that would be awesome. And I'd love a comment just to find out, am I on the right track? Would you like to hear something different? Cool, thank you. Let's keep going. So that's what A, B, and C days are. Now let's talk about why they happen. So A days, I mean, the scientific explanation for this is I think they're the days that an angel gets its wings. And so that's when you get A days. That was a terrible joke, I'm sorry. But anyway, A days happen, the way I look at it is A days, B days, and C days effectively happen on the basis of the right confluence, $4 word today, the right confluence of your physical, mental, and emotional state. And so on A days, maybe you had a great whatever workout yesterday, or you've been working on getting more sleep, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe you've been like practicing a little bit, and so your swing feels a little stronger, so your physical and overall just general kind of motor skills feel good. And then your mental and emotional state also feels good, which is why you can be confident when you're standing over the ball and you're not worried about, oh, what if this goes right or what if it goes left? And so it's really just as a corollary to that is to understand that it's really hard to have A days when you're generally really uncomfortable and nervous about the shots that you're playing. And so your mental and emotional well-being really affects your ability to have more A days. So that's something that's worth investing a little bit of time in. I think one of the most important videos I've made, and unfortunately not that many people have seen it because it doesn't sound sexy, but it's really, I mean, if you walk right, it will be quite sexy. The video is about walking. And the reason I talk about walking so much is because the taller you are and the more you kind of strut on the golf course, the more it kind of affects your positive or creates positive mental and emotional effects. And so you end up playing better as you get to the next shot because you're in a better mental and emotional state when you're here to add on to a good physical state that you've been creating. Anyway, another story. If you'd like to watch it, there's a link around here somewhere and check it out. So that's A days. Your B days are average, right? So out of the trifecta of physical, mental, and emotional, maybe 2 of them are working or 1 of them's working, or they're all working but at like half power or something like that. And so one way you can have more A days versus B days is just to kind of build up that physical well-being a little bit. So you can do that through just getting more sleep, make sure you're drinking enough water, all that other basic stuff. You could also go to the range the day before or in the morning of, and maybe don't go crazy on, like expectations when you're there, but just get more feel for the swing. And that'll put you in a better physical state for how you might want to hit this ball, because you know that you can still manage to, that was another great shot. C days, now your physical, mental, emotional, something is off. And so the last C day I actually had an eye allergy from my contacts. And so like my eye hurt. And so it was hard for me to kind of see the ball properly. Now, having said that, my expectations were still up here and therefore I was annoyed about duffing the ball. That's like a physical problem that might happen. Or maybe you haven't been getting enough sleep. Or maybe you're on a boys trip and the night before you're at the fire till 4 a.m. Fireball. Right? Like you're probably gonna have a C day the next day, unless you're one of those people that manages to have a great day, in which case I'm very jealous of you. But anyway, like it's gonna happen. That physical part's gonna happen. And then there's also the ongoing kind of mental and emotional pieces, right? So I have friends who still believe that they have the yips, and that's always gonna impact it. So if that always is lowering your mental and emotional piece, like it's gonna be really hard for you to have more A days and much more likely to have C days. So anyway, the reason these 3 days happen is basically the mix of your physical, mental, and emotional readiness on those days. And a lot of that comes down to the basics of like sleeping, breathing, eating, the works, right? Obviously. But then there's the other side of that, which is also what kind of expectations are you putting in your head, right? Do you expect to hit every 100-yard shot to like 12 feet, which is not going to happen. The pros don't do it. We're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. And so, but if you keep believing that, that is going to hurt your ability to go to the next shot with a good, strong mental and emotional state of mind. So that's why they happen. Now let's talk a little bit about how we can turn C days into better days. Ideally A days, but I'll settle for B, right? So the first thing is just understanding that there's going to be A days, B days, and C days. And the real reason for this is because when you understand that some days are going to be better than others, you get less frustrated on the course. And if you're in a less frustrated state going between, say, holes 3 and 4, you're probably going to play hole number 4 better. And then because you're playing hole number 4 better, you're going to play hole number 5 better, and so on. Versus the more annoyed you get, even if you're annoyed walking up to the ball, now you're releasing various hormones in your bloodstream, probably more stress hormones, etc. And so you're ending up in a state where you're less likely to hit good shots. So just having that anticipation of like, oh, some days are A days, B days, and C days. That's okay. This is totally normal and fine. That automatically puts you in a better mental state to have less really, really bad C days. The other thing that I think is really important is we don't give ourselves enough credit for A days. If you think about like all golfers, I shot my career low like a couple months ago, and literally, I kid you not, the first thing I said to my wife when I got home was, I 3-putted 2 holes and made bogeys. And she was like, what are you talking about? This is like your personal best. You beat your personal best by like 5 shots. But that's kind of the way that we are as golfers, right? We're always talking about, oh, what could have gone better. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't work so well with our psyche, because if we're always focusing on what's negative, we're not patting ourselves on the back for the positive part. And just if we switch tacks here for a second and talk a little bit about jobs. So did you know that the #1 reason people leave jobs is not money? It's recognition. And so if we want recognition at work, we also want recognition at home, on the golf course, etc. And the #1 person who we can get that recognition from is ourselves. But a lot of the time we don't do that. So the first question, and I think a really important part, is, are you giving yourself enough recognition for the things you do well? Not only for like the days you play well, where it's got to be 18 good holes, but what about like 14 good holes? What about 6 good holes? What about 2 good shots? And so building up that positive reinforcement is really valuable, because it tells your brain, hey, look, when I do good things, I feel it and I feel really good, and it helps you move in that direction. So along with patting yourself on the back regularly, the other thing that's really useful in turning the C days into, say, B- days, or maybe even like B days, is understanding what went well or what didn't go well that created those days. But here's the catch. We tend to limit what happened positively or negatively to what happened on the golf course, right? So I just didn't have my swing today. I was hitting the ball really low, et cetera, whatever it might be. But that's not the reason, right? There's a reason you hit that ball really low. There's a reason you hit the ball, on the toe constantly all day. Something else happened. A good example of this is I played a qualifier for a tournament about 1.5 years ago, and I sucked. It was the worst day. Like I could have shot 75 with that course. My eyes closed. The cut was 76 or 77. I think I ended up shooting like 80 something, which was really bad for me, right? But the problem wasn't that I didn't have my swing on the day. The problem was the 4 or 5 days leading up to that, I had been so focused on playing well in this tournament that I'd stopped doing the other things that were important to me. So things like I play tennis on off nights, and so that gets me some exercise, right? I stopped like working out in the same way because I'd go to the range every day just to hit more balls, but I didn't get the exercise that I needed. I didn't sleep enough because I was so like thinking about this the whole time, trying to play well. And so all of those things built up to creating that C day. And then there was also some other stuff happening in my life. And so there was like the mental state was a little bit distracted because it was like, well, what do I need to do about this? The emotional state might have been a little bit more disturbed on this side. So those things all came together to create that perfect storm of missing the cut. And the reality is it didn't really matter at all that I missed the cut. Like, it was a tournament, it sucked, you move on. But the key point was, it wasn't what happened on course. And this is what we tend to do that I think doesn't work for us, is we spend a lot of time thinking about what went wrong with my swing today. The swing is a result of everything else, right? It's the physical, mental, and emotional state. There are some days when you haven't practiced in a long time, and even though you haven't practiced, you'll still end up playing really well. And that's because you had good physical, mental, and emotional state. So I think there's part one, which is understanding, or part 3.1, which is understanding why C days don't work. And then there's the other part of understanding why A days definitely do work. So once you take those two and you put them together, now what you do is you have a recipe for success and you have a recipe for disaster. And so your recipe for success might be, getting the course earlier or getting the course on time or not stressing about things on the way there or whatever they might be. But like write down what the core things are, right? And during the round too, what else did you do during the round? Did you chat with your buddies? Did you stay super focused? If you were super focused and you didn't play well, maybe that's not the best answer. Maybe you need to be more Lee Trevino than, Ben Hogan. Lee Trevino was really chatty and Ben Hogan wasn't. But like, do you get my point? Where you're coming from these different angles and trying to figure out, hey, here's my recipe for success. The other part, which I think is really, really important, is recognizing as early as possible what kind of day you are currently having, and then bringing in some of the recipes from your A days to level up that day. So maybe you're having a really bad day and it's a C day, right? You're just like, I can't hit the ball today. Like, it's just not working. I just can't do anything. It just doesn't work. Okay, what works really well on my A days? So I'll give you an example. For me, on my A days, the things I can do is I breathe a lot when I'm on the course. I'm just chilling and breathing. And the other thing is I'm noticing what's around me. And so the more aware I am, the more I'm kind of relaxed and able to hit the shots better. The more I'm in it and I'm thinking about, okay, what am I gonna do on the next shot? And I gotta think about where the green is and I gotta think about where the ball's gonna land, all this other stuff. That actually doesn't work for me. So awareness is a key part for me. And if you look at all my cheat sheets, you watch any of my other videos, you'll notice that in the cheat sheets, I've usually got something there about like reset, notice the environment, awareness, or something to that effect. That's one other way to do it. And so a quick hack is write down the stuff that makes your A days and put it in your yardage book or in your pocket in your scorecard so you can see it regularly, which will move you up in that way. And so what ends up happening is you might be having a C day or a C holes for like maybe 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you can start nudging them up towards being more like B or A or whatever. Yeah, it's not gonna repeat, but you can start nudging them up into being better. And so your overall day might have started off as a C, but you finish it more as a B or even like an A minus maybe, if you can pick up some of those things. And the more you do that, the more that builds a stronger mental and emotional state. And your physical state may or may not be in amazing shape all the time, but that strong mental and emotional state will mean that you are generally gonna play better no matter what. So even on days where maybe you didn't have a ton of sleep, or even on days when you're like tired from whatever you did the night before, right? You can still end up playing a solid B, maybe even an A minus day, because your mental and emotional state is really good because you've got this recipe for success. So that was the concept of A, B, and C days and how you can turn more C days into B and A days. And I hope I've managed to talk you off the pickleball ledge or whatever other ledge you were on. Please let me know if it works for you. Please use the buttons and stuff. It was great having you here. See you next time. Bye.